Hey all, it's Dr. Borosky, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be diving into code.org Unit 3, Lesson 3, which is drawing in game labs. So for this lesson, it looks like we've got 9 different skill sets, and for skill set 7, it looks like we got a bunch of practices, and then for skill set 9, we've got several challenges. All right, so we are going to be covering rectangles, ellipses, and fill. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We'll start with skill set number 1. We'll just click on it here, and it'll bring us to skill set 1. And for skill set 1, we are now brought into the actual game lab. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the components of the lab. So first, we've got at the top, this is where all of our skill sets are. So we've got the green buttons right here. If we click on any of these skills buildings or skill sets is what I call them, it'll take us directly to that skill set. The purple is going to be for the assessment. The one before it is always the practice. And the one after the assessment are always the challenges. All right, and let's see here. Next thing is going to be to the left. Here is when we put code in this area right here. This area is for our code. Once we put code in this area and we hit run, then the code will execute and we will see the end result of the code being run in this area right here. In this section right here, this is going to be for the instructions. It'll briefly tell us what it wants us to know about the skill set up top. And then when we see do this, this is what we're actually going to do. This is the assignment. It's telling us exactly what to do. All right, so that is just a brief overview of what we're going to be tackling. And so let's go ahead and well, actually one more. So right here to the right, it says show text. You can go ahead and use this as a toggle, which just means it's going to shift back and forth between two different areas. And typically you're going to see a block here. In this block, you can go ahead and you can typically you can go ahead and move it. You can drop it. You can change the areas. It's really easy to use. However, when you actually start programming as a programmer, you're going to be looking at something more like this, where this is actually the actual code. And in my opinion, it's a lot easier because you can go ahead and you can make your copies of the code where you can't make a copy of the block. So I like it when it's showing the code, but for simplicity's sake, we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep it in the block version, at least for right now. All right, all that goody goody is done. Let's go ahead and see what this wants us to do. All right, so to do this, look at the line of code in the workspace below these instructions and discuss with your partner where you think the shape will be drawn on the grid. So this is going to be the grid right here. And if we click on Show Grid, we are going to see that our X, Y coordinates are right here at the top left-hand corner. This is definitely different than a Cartesian coordinate system where typically we're going to have our X, Y coordinate as 0, 0 right here. But no, for this one right here, we're going to have it at the top left. And as you go right, it's going to increase your X. So you can see how our X is increasing all the way up to 400. And then if you go down, you see how our Y is increasing, and you can see the X and the Y values to the right of our cross. And if we go diagonal, then the X and the Y are going to be increasing at the same rate. All right, so we got a little bit of an update on our grid right here. So write your prediction in the text box below of what this code is going to do. All right, so RECT, all that just tells the computer is you want it to draw a rectangle, and you want it to draw the rectangle at 100, 100. This is your X coordinate. This is your Y coordinate. So what you're really telling the computer to do is to go ahead and draw a rectangle at 100, 100. Now, when you do draw your rectangles, it always starts at the top left-hand corner. So let's go ahead and find out where the area is 100 and 100. So if we move our cross right here, and we watch our X and Ys, our X and Y is at 100, 100, right about here. So we know that once we hit run, this area right here should be shaded. So let's go ahead and say that, let's see, we'll type in area starting at 100, comma 100 will be a square. All right. So let's go ahead and hit run and see if we're right. So we hit run, and at the 100, 100 mark, and we can see right under finish, it says 94, 98, 94X, 98Y. So we know this area right here is our square. So we're pretty close. All right. So let's go ahead and finish this off, and we are going to move into skill set number 2. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at our skill set number 2. So let's go ahead and see where this is going to take us. All right, so for this skill set 2, what we're going to be doing is you're supposed to watch a video, so make sure you watch the video that comes with us. And to do, let's move down to the to do. So to do this, here is the line of code from the previous level. So you do have a line of code. Now they've got some new coding in here, and the new coding that we have here is these two backslashes, and then we've got it in a gray box. All that is a comment. In a comment, what that is you can type anything you want in this comment after these two slashes, and the computer's not going to read it. So the computer is going to start at line number 1. It's going to say two backslashes. It's going to say, wait a second. Anything after this, we're not going to read, so it's going to skip down to line number 2. And it's going to see two backslashes again. It's going to say again to itself, hey, this is not something that's for me. I'm going to skip over that. And then the code's going to start executing at line number 3. And the reason we use comments is that we want to be able to tell other programmers that are going to read our code exactly what this code does. We don't want every programmer that's going to look at our code to actually have to sit down and think about and figure out our code when we can just simply tell them in the comments. All right. So to do this, first thing we're going to do is here is a line of code from the previous level. And here's a line of code right here. Instead of 100, 100, it's now 300, 300. We show the grid. We know that it's going to make us a box probably a little bit further down or right about here. All right, change the numbers inside the block and then try running the program again. All right, so let's go ahead and run the program. And like I said, it's down here. If we change the code in the numbers in the block, hit reset, what it's done is it's changed instead of X at 300 right here, it is now at 100. So it shifted the box over here. If we do the same thing to the Y coordinate, reset and run, and now shifted it up here to 100 and 100. Try to place the rectangle near the top right of the screen. So the top right of the screen is going to be right around here. So we want to put it at 400, and the 0 is going to put us right here. And if we draw that, it's going to be off the page. So we want it closer to about 350. So we're going to change X to 350. And we're going to leave we'll put y at 0. Let's see what happens. Hit reset and run. Yep, and that's right at the top right corner where we want it to be. All right, that is going to do it for skill set number 2. Hey, all, we are now into skill set 3. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we are being asked to do. All right, so we're going to skip over this and we're going to go right to the to do. So for the to do, place two rectangles exactly in the corners of the screen, just like the picture. You will need to drag the second rectangle block. Okay, so we've got a rectangle in the bottom right, and we got a rectangle on the top left. Good. And we've also got two rectangles already here. So this looks like I've already worked on this. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and start over. So we'll go ahead and hit start over. And once you hit start over, what it does is just clears the screen. All right, now we have just one rectangle, show blocks. So we've got one rectangle. We've got our little comment right here. Place two rectangles exactly in the corners of the screen. Again, one here and one here. So if we run the program, well, heck, the rectangle is not even in either one of the corners. So let's go ahead and start by coding this rectangle. And we want it right here. So we're going to show the grid. We want it right here starting at 0, 0. So we're going to change this rectangle to 0 and 0. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to drag this rectangle block over here. And let's see what we have now. So we've got this one right here in the top corner, which is where we want it. And now we want the second rectangle in this bottom corner, and we want it to start right here at coordinate 350, 350. So for the second rectangle, we're going to change this to 350, and we'll change this one right here to 350 as well, and hit reset and run. And now we have our rectangle on the top left, and then also on the bottom right, and that's exactly where we want them. All right, we'll finish lesson skill set 3, and let's move on to skill set 4. All right, we are now up to skill set 4. And for skill set 4 in code.org lesson 3, what are we to do? So we have a picture that they're supplied with 3 blocks, yellow, and they're in a specific structure. I'm thinking that has something to do with what we need to do. All right, so to do this, so look at the code that sets the colors. And let's see here. The code that's going to set the color is going to be the fill. Change the color from blue to yellow. All right, so we're going to go ahead and find where it says fill. So our options that are given us in the toolbox is the fill and the color, and then the rectangle. Now keep in mind, anytime that you're going to do a rectangle and you want to fill it a certain color, you've got to tell the computer what color to make the rectangle. So you tell it the color first, and then you give it the shape. So our directions are to change blue to yellow. So we did that. Next thing we need to do is add a new square to the image and drag out a rectangle. All right, so it tells us right here in the comments, our 2 backslashes are comments, add a new square to the image. So we're going to go ahead and pull out a rectangle right here. And so the new square can go to any location you like on the screen. Remember, you can always turn the grid on. We can do that. All right, so let's run it. All right, good. So we've got 3 rectangles now. It doesn't look like the bot. It doesn't look like the picture, but it's definitely 3 rectangles. And is there anything else? Add a new square to the image. Drag the square out below. The new square can go to any location on the screen you like. Remember, you can always turn the grid on and hover X, Y. All right. All right. So just the last thing we're going to do is we're going to make the rectangle look like this picture. So we're going to go ahead and change our X coordinate, because our X coordinate for this one is 100. So we're going to change this X coordinate from 200 to 100. So let's go ahead and double click on that. Change it to 100, reset, run. All right, so we now have our picture now looks like their picture. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to skill set 5. We'll finish this off and then continue. And for skill set 5, what do we need to do? Okay, in the game lab, it matters. Okay, so we've got a picture right here. We've got the green on top of the blue. And so what are they telling us to do? So in the game lab, it matters what order your code is. I would agree with that. New shapes are drawn on the top of old ones. Yep, I would agree with that all, covering up the old shapes. All right, so what do we have here? So look at the code that draws the 2 rectangles. All right, so we've got fill. So it's telling us, hey, the next rectangle you make it blue. So we got fill blue and then a rectangle. And then it's saying, hey, whatever rectangle you make after this right here, make it green. So we got the green fill and then a rectangle. If you look at the code that draws the 2 rectangles, we did that. The first one is drawn red, and the second one is blue. Okay, so we've got blue and green. So let's go ahead and reset this. So once we reset it, and we've got, well, now we got red and green. Right, so we got red here, and then we got blue, and if we run it, we've got the red, and then the blue is covering it. So change the red rectangle color to green. So we're going to go ahead and find where it says red. It says red here. And we're going to change it to green. Change the order of the code so the green appears on top. Okay, so we're going to change the order of the code to make it the green appear on top. So the way we're going to do this is the green is on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to flip this to text, and I'm going to copy these 2 lines of code, Control C. I'm going to paste them down here, and then I'm going to delete these, flip it back to blocks, reset, run, and now we've got the green on top of the blue. That is the order that they're looking for. Yeah, so that's all we had to do is we had just do a little bit of rearranging with the code. Instead of the green, the fill, and rectangle being on top, we just need to move it to the bottom. All right, let's go ahead and finish it off. And let's go ahead and move on to skill set 6. And we're going to go ahead and reset the version. Now, I do that because I've already done the assignments, but y'all don't need to do that. An ellipse. All an ellipse is in a circle. So we got so we've got our fill. We already used that before. We've got a rectangle. We've used that before as well. Now we've got our ellipse. An ellipse, again, it just makes a circle, and the XY coordinates is where the circle center is. So we've got a purple circle up here. We've got a, what is that, a yellow or a orange circle right there. Okay, so look at the code that makes the ellipse. So let's go ahead and run it. We've got one purple up here. Add a new ellipse of a different color. So we've got that. So we're going to add another ellipse. Now keep in mind that you have to put the color first. I'm going to go ahead and put the color up top and then the ellipse underneath. And we'll reset and run. So we've got now one yellow and one purple. So add a new ellipse of a different color. We did that right here. And remember, you can always turn the grid on. So we'll go ahead and turn the grid on. And you see how that's maxed on that these two lines right here intersect the center of the yellow circle. All right, that's all we need to do for this skill set right here. Let's go ahead and finish it. And let's see here. We are going to, all right, so we're now at our practice. So let's go ahead and just give me a second and I'll be right back to tackle some of the practice questions. All right, so for this skill set, we are at the practice. And for the practice, we're going to go ahead and start with practice A. So we're at skill set 7, and we're going to go ahead and tackle A, which is debug a car. And give it a second. So I'm going to go ahead and again, I'm going to restart it. And all right, let's see what the directions tell us to do. Say, oops, the red part of the car is hiding the wheel. So let's hit run. I would agree with that. The wheels are definitely in the picture. They're on the outside, and then in the code that we just ran, this being covered up. So we need to fix the problem, fix the program to match the picture to the right. So what do we need to do? So read the code that makes the car. So for the code, we're starting off rearrange the code so that the wheels are visible. So we've got a fill diagram dim gray. So this once we see the fill dim gray, that tells us immediately this is going to be the wheels. Then we've got a ellipse here and a ellipse here. Those are our two wheels. And then we've got a fill red. So that tells me that we're probably getting into the car itself. And then we've got a bunch of rectangles. All right. So if what we know about the code, what we know about code is that when you go ahead and the computer is going to start at the top and it's going to draw our ellipse, draw this ellipse, and then it's going to draw the rectangles over it. So if we want the wheels to come and be able to see the wheels, we're going to want to move the ellipse to after the rectangles. So I'm going to go ahead and go to show the code. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, Control C it. I'm going to backspace and get rid of it. And then I'm going to go underneath the rectangle. I'm going to hit an enter, Control V, and then I'm going to go back to blocks. And so now what we have here is we've got our car being done first and then our wheel. So let's see if that helps. And once we hit reset and run, we can now see that the wheels are on top of the blocks, which gives us the illusion that the wheels are outside the car. All right, that makes everything we need to do for this one. We'll go ahead and finish this, continue, and let's go ahead and slide over to B, which is making a flower, or debugging the flower, rather. All right, so let's go ahead and see how we can debug a flower. All right, again, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and reset this, start over. And wait for it for a minute. All right, so let's go ahead and sneak a peek at our flower. So that's a pretty flower. We got some little yellow center with some petals on the outside. This top one's not touching the other four. So, the flower is missing some petals. Okay, so bring them together with the center of the flower to recreate the picture. Hit run. Yep, we definitely got some petals that are not where they need to be. I'm going to have to agree with that assessment. All right, so to do, what do we, okay, so look at the code that makes the flower. All right, let's look at the code. So let's see here, give me 1 second here. All right, sorry about that. All right, so let's go ahead and read this code and see what it's telling us. So first thing we're doing here is it's telling us that there's whatever shapes are gonna come after the fill is gonna be purple. So we know that those are going to be our petals. So we've got our ellipse, an ellipse, an ellipse, ellipse, and ellipse. So we've got our 5 ellipses. And then underneath that, we've got filled yellow, and then we've got our another ellipse, which is our center, which is going to be our center of the flower. So the two petals that we are looking for are going to be at approximately, so we're going to be looking for the XY coordinate of about 236 and 294, or 240 and 300. So 240 and 300 is going to be right here. So we want to change that one, and we want to put the center right about here, which is about 220 and 240. So let's go ahead and change this from 240. So we're going to make that 220 to 240. Backspace 240. Hit reset and run. And it's not the best, it's not the worst. This one right here, we probably want to line up the we want to line up the Y with this one right here. So the Y on this one is about 235. So let's change this to 235. Let's see how that does. Reset run. Yeah, that's much better. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull this one over here. So we're looking for 300 and 200. And that would be, and we know that because if we hover over it, we can see underneath the finish right down here, it tells us the XY coordinate, which is the 300 and 200. So we're going to look for the 300, 200, which is right here. And we want to bring that center right about here to 240 and 190. So we're going to change this to 240 and 190. Reset run. That's not too bad. It's probably a little high. And if we take a look at it here, we've got our Y coordinate at 195. So let's make it Y coordinate 195. Hit reset, run. Yeah, that's much better. So if we take a look at that and we take a look at this pedal right here, I think we're pretty darn close. Anything else we need to do? Hint, use the grid to figure out where the pedals should be. And that's pretty much what we did. All right, so that finishes this segment right here. We'll go ahead and hit finish, and that takes care of B. Let's go ahead and see what we have in store for C. Debug the stoplight. All right, let's tackle a stoplight. All right, so we are at the stoplight now, and let's take a look at the picture first. We've got the red, we got the yellow, we got the green, we got a black box over it. So this tells me right here, the first thing we want to draw is going to be the black box, and then we want to go ahead and do the circles. All right. Next thing we're going to go ahead and take a look at is debug. So okay, this stoplight is all mixed up. Fix it so that it looks like the picture to the right. Okay, so let's run the code. And in the code, okay, we got some colors going that are not right here. We've got a green in the background, we've got a black on top, we've got a red in the middle, and we've got a yellow right here. So read the code below. It's intended to create a stoplight, but the colors are incorrect. Rearrange the code so the colors are correct. You do not need to add any new blocks or change any values. You only need to rearrange the blocks so that they are already in the code area. All right, so let's go ahead and read the code. So first thing that's happening here is we're making a rectangle. Rectangle right here is at 175. We've got another rectangle and another rectangle. Now, interestingly enough, there is no fill. So we're not filling this rectangle with anything at all. Underneath, we've got the black. We got a black fill, and then we've got the ellipse. And then we've got another fill red, and we've got the ellipse, and another fill yellow, and we got the ellipse, and another fill green. But we've got underneath the green, the fill green, we're not filling anything green. So that's kind of leaving us hanging. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and we need to make sure that these rectangles right here are filled black. So I'm going to take this fill here, I'm going to put up top, and then I'm going to hit reset and run. So now what we have is we've got our black. So we've got our rectangles are black. So we're good with our rectangles now. The next thing we need to do is we need to change the stoplight on top. We need to change it to red. So this right here, we've got rectangles going to black, and then we've got the black circle. So we need to pull this red right here up on top of the ellipse. And once we do that, so we've got fill red. So hit reset run. So now our first circle is red, and you can see that by fill red right here. Then our second circle is red as well, when it should be yellow. So we've got fill red, and so we're going to move this fill yellow up, and we're going to put that right up underneath the first ellipse. If we hit reset run, so now we've got red, and now we've got yellow, but then we've got two yellow. That is because our green, or fill green, remember, we've got to tell the computer what color to make the circle before it makes a circle. So we're going to pull the fill green up top, and then we're going to have that on top of the ellipse. Hit reset run. So now what we have here is we've got our black squares. So so we're telling it, hey, the next objects you're going to make them black, and then we tell it to make 3 rectangles, and it does it. Then we tell the computer, say, hey, the next shape that you're going to make it red, and then we give it an ellipse, and we say, hey, computer, the next shape that you're going to make it yellow, and then we give it an ellipse. And then we say, hey, computer, next shape that you're going to make it green, and then we give it an ellipse, and the final product is right here, and we are good to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and give me just 1 minute. We'll go ahead and then draw a car. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are now going to go ahead and make a car. So for this one right here, and we are at practice 7. Specifically, we are doing draw the car, which is going to be practice 7D. So let's go ahead and go to 7D. And now let's go ahead and read the directions. So we've got a picture of a car right here. So that's probably the car they want us to do. So in the previous lesson, you and your partner learned several interesting images, like the car and the image to the right. This time, your task is to create the image of the car using code. So what are you going to do? So use the rectangles and ellipses, blocks to draw your car. So we're going to make a car. Make sure that you are using the fill block to give the shapes the correct color. Hint: pay attention to the order of your blocks so that the red squares are in front of the drawing. All right. So what we want to do here, let's go ahead and we're going to draw this, and we're going to start with the blue. So we've got 2 blue blocks that we need to do. And then underneath the blue blocks, we need 1, 2, 3. We need 4, it looks like green blocks to me. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do 2 blue blocks, and then we're going to make 4 green blocks. And then the final thing that we're going to do is we're going to then do 2 red circles for tires. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the blue block. So we're going to go ahead and take bring over a fill. And remember, when you're going to do a shape, you got to tell it which shape you're going to make it, and then do the shape. Fill blue, and then we want a rectangle. Hit reset run. So we got a rectangle right here, and we want this rectangle, I want this rectangle right here. I want to start it at 150 and 150. So I'm going to change the coordinates to 150 and 150. Come on. And then hit reset run. Okay, I like that. And then I need one more rectangle. So we're going to pull another rectangle over here, reset run. And I want this rectangle to be right here at 200 and 250. So 200, so we're going to change this to 250. Reset run. All right, yeah, we got the top half of it. Not bad. Next, what we need to do is we now need to go ahead and make, what is this, green? So we're going to make that green. The second layer is going to be green. So we're going to pull over our fill. We're going to change this to green. And then we need 4 blocks. So let's go ahead and start with the rectangle right here and hit reset run. And that's not too bad. That's one of the areas we need. So I'm going to leave the coordinates for that one alone. I'm going to go ahead and pull over another one. And I'm going to go ahead and make that coordinates of 150 and 200. So I'm going to change this one to 150. Hit reset run. Good. Looking good. Looking good. I'm going to pull over another rectangle. And then I want this coordinate to be, since the squares are drawn from the top left-hand corner, I'm going to want it to be at 100 and 200. So I'm going to change this to 100. Reset run. All right, so now we've got that there. Now we're going to shift it over here, and we want the last green square to be right here, and that's going to be at 250 and 200. So let's go ahead and pull over one more rectangle, and we're going to change that to, what did I say, 250 and 200. So we're going to change that to 250. So hit reset and run. Not bad. Now, the final thing we need to do is we need some red tires. So we're going to, again, remember, we've got to tell the computer what color to draw the shape before we give it a shape. So we are going to then, we bring over another fill. And this fill, we're going to change to red. I'm going to change it to red. Red. And then we're going to bring over a circle. Now remember, when they draw circles, it's right smack in the middle. So whatever XY coordinate we give it, we want it to be in the middle. So I want the XY coordinate to be right about here, which is going to be X is 150 and 250. So I want this to be 150, and I want this to be 250. Hit reset and run. Not bad, not bad at all. And the last tire that I want that to be right here, which is at 250 and 250. So we're going to bring over one more ellipse, put it at the bottom, and we're going to change it to 250 and 250. All right, and hit reset run. All right, not too shabby, not too shabby at all. I like what I've got. So we got the red, we got the green, and then we've got the red tires and the tires on the outside. Looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and say this is done. So let's go ahead and finish it. Continue and see where we're at now. So we've got one more practice to do, which is going to be the practice E. And then we're going to be into the assessment. All right. So let's go ahead and let's see what they want. So we need to go ahead and make some purple circles. And we need to make the purple circles into, well, it looks like a right triangle. So where are the directions? So shape the shapes. So let's practice shape, location, placement, and the order of the shapes by drawing this right triangle made of circles. So let's go ahead and run it. And we got no code. Oh, good for them. All right. So use the fill block to color the shapes purple. Well, that's our first step. Let's bring over the fill. And let's go ahead and change this to purple. Well, guess what? They don't give us a purple there. So we need to type in purple, P-U-P-R-L-E. P-U-R. Right. And let's see here. And then let's just go ahead and bring over a circle. And oops. Bring over a circle. And let's see if we got that right. All right. So what we've done is we've made a circle. First thing it's telling us to do is, well, we need a purple circle. And in order to get a purple circle, we're going to pull over the fill. Since it doesn't give us a purple choice here, we just type in purple, and it's got that color in its selection. Next thing we do is after we tell the computer what color to make the next shape, then we're going to bring over a shape, and that's what we've done. Now what we need to do is we need to make the line. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got five circles here. But now if we look at this here, we can see if we look real close at the shape, we've got the circle right here is on top. And then this one's on top of this one, which is on top of this, which was on top of this one, blah, blah, blah. And you can see all of these are right back to here where they're on top of it. So we do not want to start with this circle. We want to actually start here because everything else is drawn on top. So we want to start with this circle right here. And this circle, we're going to call this, we're going to call it where it's at right now. So we're going to say it's, actually, you know what? I want to bring this up a little bit. I want this to be right here. I want this to be at 100 and 100. That gives me a little bit more area to work with. So I'm going to change this to 100 and 100. All right, so it's going to give me a little bit more room to work with here. So I want I want 3 circles. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Total of 4 circles going at a diagonal. So I'm going to bring over another one right here. And I'm going to want this circle at about 120 and 120. So let's change it to 120. 120, and we're going to change this one to 120 as well. Hit reset and run. All right, doesn't look too bad. Okay, so this one right here is on top of this one. And so we want to do two more. And the next one I'm going to put at 140 and 140. So let's go ahead and pull over another one. And let's label this 140 and 140. Reset it and run. Looking pretty good. I want one more. And I'm starting to develop a pattern here. So we've got 100, 120, 140. Let's go 160 and 160. Reset run. So now we've got 1, 2, 3. We got so we got 4 circles at a diagonal. And so we've got that right here. Now we want to start going the opposite direction. We want to start pulling it back, and we want to end it right here at the original X location, which is at 100. So we want to pull this back 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So we're going to go ahead and pull over an ellipse, and we want to keep the Y coordinate the same as this one right here, as 160. So this Y coordinate is going to be 160. But we want the X coordinate to come back a little bit. And so the X coordinate is going to be somewhere similar to 130. So let's change this to 130. Even better, let's change it to 140. Reset run. All right, so now it's coming backwards. And so we're going to go ahead and then do another ellipse. And again, we're going to change this keep this at 160. We're not changing our X, but we're going to bring it, instead of 140, we're going to call it 120. And you see how I'm lining it up with this these other ellipses up here. Reset run. Good. So we've got it pulled back a little bit further. And so we're going to pull in another ellipse. And we're going to keep it 160. We don't want to change the Y. We want to keep it in a line. But we're going to change this one then to 100. Hit reset run. And so we've got that pulled back here. Next thing we're going to do is we need to come up 1, 2, 3, and we need to come up 4. So we're going to come up 4 more. And we're going to go up 4. So we're going to bring over our ellipse. Now this time we're not changing our Y. We're going up, but so we want to keep our Y the same. So we're going to keep our Y the same at 100. And then we're going to change this to 140, because this is already at 160. We're going to change this to 140. Hit reset run. All right, so this is kind of going up now. And we want 2 more. So we're going to do another one, bring over our ellipse. And for this ellipse, again, we're going to keep our Y the same. And we're going to change this to 120 now, because this is how the other one is right up here. Hit reset run. And so now we need just one more. And so for this one right here, we are now going to go ahead and we're going to pull over our ellipse. And we're going to keep this at 100. And then we're going to change this to 100. Hit reset run. And so now we've got our triangle here. Now, taking a look at this right here, it is a triangle. And we don't have the center that the other one does. So what I want to do is I want to make this maybe a little bit wider. So instead of that 100, 100, I'm probably going to go to 130 and 130. 130, and then we'll go 140, 150, and 150. And then we'll go 170 and 170. Hit reset run. That gives us a little bit more space. And now I'm at 170. I'm going to keep that 170. I'm going to go here 170 here. And then I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. Let's see it reset run. All right. So we've got it at 170. And just give me just 1 second. All right. So we changed that. So now what we want to change is we want to start changing our x-axis here from 140. And we had at 140. We're going to move this to 150. And then this one, we're going to move to 130. And then this one we kept at 100. So let's go ahead and see how this works out. Good. And then we're going to make this one 170 as well. reset, run. That pulled that one down. Good. So you see how I'm moving it here and I'm moving over here. Now the next one, we've got at 170. So now what we need to do is this right here is our x-axis. So the x is not changing. Now we're going up. We're going to change these to the 130, 140. We're going to change this to 150, 130, and then this one is 100. So let's hit reset and run. So we got a little bit more room here. It's not, we don't have this well-defined circle, little area that this right here does. But you know what? I'm going to say this is good to go because we've got it layered like it does here. And it goes into the circle and ends up top. So you know what? I like what we've got here. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. For example, the circle at the top of the rectangle is the top of all those shapes, which means it's the last block. Yeah. So we've got all the code that's pretty much needs to be here. It's in the order that needs to be. It's just not in identical locations, which I'm good with, and I'd accept this as your answer. All right, so we're going to finish this, and let's see what we have next. All right, so that looks like we are now done with the practice. And the final thing we need to get to is going to be the assessment. So let's go ahead and start over. All right, so for this assessment, what are they telling us to do? So we are now at skill set 8. So often code doesn't work the first time it runs and programmers have to debug it. The code below is supposed to make the picture to the right. So we've got 4 circles on the outside and then a purple square. But the programmer got confused about which order to put the code in, as well as where to put the block of the square. So let's run it. Let's see where it's at. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna have to agree. This is wackadoodle. So the circles look like they're in a real good location. I got no issues with the circle. My issue is A, with the square, the location of it, and B, the color of the square. So let's go ahead and find that pesky square. So here's the square. Here's the rectangle right here. So now, first thing that I'm noticing here is we're telling the computer to draw the rectangle, but we're not giving it a color to draw it. And so that's going to be a problem. We've got the fill down here, which is purple. So this fill should go right in front of the rectangle. So if we put it right here, right on top of the rectangle, see if that fixes the problem. It does. The second problem we have is that the circle is on top of the rectangle. Well, that's going to be an issue. So in order for us to get the rectangle on top of the circle, we need to draw the rectangle last. So I'm going to switch this into a block to text. I'm going to copy these first 2 lines, Control C, get rid of them, and I'm going to put them at the end and hit Control V, and let's see what happens. Reset, run. So now we've got our purple rectangle, which we needed. It's also on top of the circle, which we needed as well. The only problem that we have now is that it's not in the center. So we're going to use our grid component here. And we're going to find out that, remember, for a rectangle, it always draws at the top left. We're going to go to this location right here, which is 150 and 150. So instead of 175, 175, we're going to change it to 150 and 150. Hit reset, run. Now what we have here is we have our circles underneath, our rectangle on top in the right location and the right color, purple. All right, so let's make sure that we did everything we're supposed to. Look at the code in the workspace. We did that. Change the code so it makes a picture to the right. We did that as well. You do not need to add any new blocks. We didn't add anything. You only need to rearrange some blocks. That's exactly what we did. All right, and the end result looks pretty darn good. All right, let's go ahead and call it a day. All right, so that is it. The only other things you have left to do is going to be the challenges, and I'm going to leave those challenges up to y'all. All right, hopefully this information was helpful, and have fun coding.